Let's switch gears here to the Bengals. We'll talk about the Bengals real quick. Some few updates here. They did name a new offensive line coach on Monday. Scott Peters is coming over from the Patriots. He's also bringing over Michael McCarthy as an assistant offensive line coach. Peters is 46. He spent last season with the Patriots, as did McCarthy, who's 39. It's hard for me to get excited about offensive line coaches. Skinny, what do you
Me
think of
too.
these two?
No, I know nothing about him. Literally, I'm not going to lie. I know about is his resume. I don't know what his methods are. We haven't gotten a chance to talk to him yet, so I guess that's something when we get a chance to talk, we can hash out of what he feels his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. Hopefully, he is a development guy. Because I think they're going to have to get some young blood in that pipeline and develop them. You're still developing Amarius Mims as well, so hopefully he's a big development guy. And so I'm not going to judge him that he coached with a bad team in the Patriots and that they weren't all that great offensively. I don't think that's his fault. They just weren't very good in general. So, hopefully this is a guy that's big on development and can develop some people.
Does it matter if they have a designated run game coordinator or not?
No, I don't know. Sometimes these titles get tagged on. I mean, you have that additional responsibility, but it's an additional way, I think, to give a guy a little more cash and a little more cachet with a title. Those things sometimes make me laugh. Back in the day, Paul Brown, when he started the Bengals franchise, if you go to their media guide, I think he had 5 assistant coaches total. 5. He seemed to do just fine. He did pretty good. He made the playoffs in his 3rd year with an expansion franchise with 5 assistants. Now, literally, you have assistants to assistants to assistants. Give me
Skinny,
a break.
please do not try to convince this organization to do more with less. They don't need that mindset. They've got enough of that going around that building.
That's a very fair point. That is a very fair point.
Please do not convince them that they should shrink their staff any more than it's already shrunk. It took all of 2 weeks for Lou Anarumo to get a new job as a defensive coordinator. He was hired by the Colts this week. The Bengals finished this past season 25th in total defense, giving up 348.3 yards per game, and tied for 25th in points allowed at 25.5 per game. What do you think this says about the Bengals' decision to fire Lou Anarumo?
It's a good question to ask. I don't think anything. Again, I think it says that Lou is as respected as I think I said last week, that he's going to get another job. But again, I'm not of the ilk that says that it's not time sometimes to have a new voice and a new ideas and fresh ideas. And again, this is a scapegoat business as well, and that's what this move was on top of all that. So I think, again, what it says is what I've always believed of Lou is that he's highly respected, that he was going to land another job pretty quickly. He did that. And in the Bengals case, it was probably time to move on. But then you better nail this hire if you're Zach Taylor, because now it's your feet to the fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were kind of saying that all along, that you kept saying it's a scapegoat league. This is a scapegoat decision. They have to pin the blame on someone, so it's Lou Anarumo in this case because, again, I mean, otherwise, what are you doing, firing everybody on your defense and starting all over next season, or getting rid of Zach Taylor? I mean, it's one or the other. You have to do something, and so Lou Anarumo was the guy. But the fact that he got another job so quickly and other teams were interested, not just the Colts, in him, that it kind of underlines that point of the rest of the league still respects him and doesn't believe it was his fault. He was dealt a roster that was just not going to be competitive this year regardless, and the rest of the league is betting on that too.
Hey, listen, the guy who got fired in Indianapolis, Gus Bradley, is very highly thought of. It just didn't work, and sometimes that's the key. You just need something different.
The commissioner, Roger Goodell, has once again hinted at the possibility of extending the regular season to 18 games, a move that would eliminate one more preseason game, now going to 2 preseason games, 18 regular season games. A lot of people are speculating that this move could come with a Sunday morning international slot for games. Next season, the Dolphins are set to play in Spain. The Bengals are set to play a road game against the Dolphins next year, making them a possibility for that game in Madrid, I guess. What are your thoughts on potentially expanding the regular season one more game, Skinny?
Yeah, I did a story on this last time Goodell piped up on the subject back as might have been preseason. Yeah, I think it was preseason. Or maybe actually it was in the offseason. I take it back because there was only a handful of guys in the locker room. They were in the auxiliary locker room. And I asked a few guys, and most of the guys I asked, I think it was Ted Karras was one, Mike Hilton was another. Joe Burrow had brought it up on his own, so I used a quote from Joe as well. And their whole stance was, yeah, it's fine. Give us another game check. And I think that's where everybody stands. You're going to have to pay us a little bit more money because it's going to require another game check. And I think that's where players stand with this is they don't get paid for preseason games. They get a stipend in the preseason. Their game checks don't kick in until the regular season starts. So for players, it's, want to give me another game check? Give me another game check. I do think it's a big ask. I do think, as has been discussed, you have to add a second bye week into the mix, which would probably either start the season a week earlier, which is feasible because you're cutting back one preseason game. You'll now have 2 preseason games, 18 regular season games. So my guess would be you start maybe towards the tail end of August, early first part of September, probably before Labor Day, to end it where it's ending currently, throw a second bye week into the mix and go from there. I don't think you can do this without a second bye week. I just don't think the players would go for that. They'll go for the extra game check, and I don't blame them for that, but they're not going to go for it without a second bye week, in my opinion.
I mean, I understand why players may have an opinion of it and media members who cover the sport may have a different opinion of it. Although, I mean, you still have to cover preseason games, so I'm not sure that it changes much for you from that perspective.
No, I mean, from a coverage standpoint, give me 18 regular season weeks as opposed to more training camp, more preseason. I literally loathe everything about training. I get the shakes when July starts knowing training camp's coming. I hate it so much.
That's what I would think as a media member. And then from the fan perspective, I look at it and I say, well, from what fan is going to say, yeah, let's keep more preseason games and less regular season? Any fan is going to be fine with this.
Well, if you're a season ticket holder, you're paying the same amount for your right now it's split up into a year where you have the 9 regular season home games, you get 1 preseason home game. In a year where it's 8 regular season home games, you get 2 preseason home games, and you're paying the same price on your season ticket. So give me just the 1 preseason game. I'll take it. You get 9 home games every year.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think the trendy thing to do is if Roger Goodell says something, we immediately hate him and say he's an idiot. But in this case, I mean, I don't think there's going to be much pushback against the NFL adding another regular season game.
Yeah, the only pushback I can see, like I said, is there has to be a second bye week. And
yeah, injuries for players, right?
And part of me says you have to, I don't know if you expand the practice squad, but maybe you do expand the practice squad just because, again, injuries are so real in the league, and they seem to be more prevalent today than they've ever been. And, there was a year where I think the Steelers a few years ago actually couldn't fill a 55-man roster, 53-man roster because they couldn't pay enough. They didn't have enough money left on the cap to do so. So something would have to be done in that regard to expand at least the practice squad, I would think.
And a players' union's not going to be upset about that. They'll take an extra spot on the practice squad or two.
Correct. Yeah, I think I'd be interested to see what the players do bring up as a negotiating chip, because this isn't going to get passed without their approval either.
Yeah, they want something for it.
I mean, is this where you hardline bargain against the franchise tag, something along those lines?
I just don't think it's enough juice for that.
Maybe, I don't know, but
it's like that's too big of a chip.
They're going to have to ask for something in return. It'll be interesting to see what that would be.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Any other thoughts on expansion or the NFL or the Bengals here?
Yeah, just the Al Golden news. That seems like it's pretty close to being done.
Yeah, does that performance change your mind at all? I wanted to ask you that.
I know people are thinking that. No, not at all. He did really good things in the 2 seasons there. I think the only thing that gives you cause for pause is he's not coordinated at defense at the NFL level. He's been a position coach in the NFL. I get all of those things. No. Again, that's to me a little bit of apples and oranges, especially going against that Ohio State offense. Arguably had as many weapons as anybody in college football, and it was going to take a Herculean effort to slow them down. And at points they finally did. I think he made some adjustments in order for them to get back, and I think that's a big thing. I think he's done a good job developing players. I think that's a big part of what the Bengals are looking to do with some of these new hires is, we're going to throw youngins at you, and you're going to have to develop them quickly. And so, that's the thing. I didn't realize this until the other day. He still lives here in Cincinnati. His kids still go to school here in Cincinnati. So,
wow.
I mean,
he obviously wants to get back here, then you would think.
Yeah, and I thought the decision was going to come down to, could the Bengals match what he's making? He's making, I think he signed a 4-year, $9 million deal with Notre Dame. That's roughly 1.75. I think Lou was making 1.5. So you're not totally far off in the money aspect of it. But if you're going to bring him back home, and again, maybe you do wind up paying him what he's making at Notre Dame and you don't have to pay him more, then it works for both parties.
I did not realize that his family was still living here. That would seem to make it, from his perspective, a slam dunk if he can get back to coaching the NFL and coaching for the Bengals and a defensive coordinator role. And for the Bengals, it seems like he would be their top target at the moment based on how they've handled this process. Yeah,
I heard your question. I heard other people kind of wring their hands about that a little bit too. And I'm like, you're not making a decision based on a performance. And they didn't exactly lay a total egg.
Well, and that's so typical of fans these days, isn't it? I mean, they're swayed with one game results all the time. It's like, our coach is great, fire our coach. Our coach is great, fire our coach. And in this case, it's funny because it's not even your coach yet. It's like, we want Al Golden. Al Golden's our guy. And then one bad game in the national championship.
Don't want Al Golden.
In the sport. I don't know if we can take this guy. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not our guy.
Yeah.
So that's so par for the course right now. One other thing that I did want to ask you about: there's a new report out this week by Cincinnati Business Courier that they had emails between the Bengals and Hamilton County. The emails basically were of the Bengals accusing the county of being in default of the lease agreement, saying that they should have made repairs and upgrades to the stadium already, and they were hindering the Bengals from using their own money to do so. The county has made other accusations against the Bengals that they didn't do what they were supposed to get those things done. Basically, what this all amounts to is the Bengals have revoked all lease extension offers and cut off negotiations, saying they were fruitless. What does all of this mean for fans, if anything? Is there a chance that they leave? Is there a chance they build a new stadium now? What's going on?
I don't think it. I think it's just it's hardline negotiating on both parties' parts. Somebody eventually gives in. I don't see this being anything other than a pissing match between a billionaire and politicians. And to me, you know what? If it comes down to you want to leave, I know this isn't going to be popular. Pick up and go. I don't care. Just either get it done or move on, one or the other.
Is that going to be threatened coming up here this offseason, do you think? Is that the next step? Are we going to be talking about that a lot?
It'll be threatened, but they're not going through with this. Give me a break.
Yeah, but especially not at this point in the franchise.
And let me just tell you, you go through another couple of bad years, then public sentiment's going to be totally against you too. You built up some goodwill over the last few years with a Super Bowl run. You get 3 straight non-playoffs with Joe Burrow as your quarterback. No matter whether you're in the right or not, if you're the Bengals, fan base is going to turn on you in a heartbeat. They're just going to say, you know what, do what you got to do. Pick up and go.
Well, you were just starting to build some goodwill of hey, the younger Blackburns have kind of taken over the organization. They've got some new ideas. They're moving in the right direction. They're being better partners with the community. And now all of a sudden this season, everyone's like, they're not spending enough again. They're being too cheap. If you do something like this and get everyone pissed off about threatening we're going to leave, you're absolutely right, Skiddy. I mean, coming off another year where you didn't make the playoffs, fans are going to turn on this franchise so quick in terms of public sentiment, if it hasn't already.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sure, you could stop watching now, but let's be honest, you want to see more. So click some of those links, or better yet, go ahead and tap subscribe. That way you'll catch more content from Local 12.